Okay, so it is about a quarter till 10 o'clock in the morning on March the 31st, 2022. I'm going to talk briefly today about my opinion on whether or not you need a commercial mower or a residential mower for what you're going to be doing. Before I go any further, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I'm trying to give a free experience and free advice out to people that are running their lawn care businesses, and I'm hopeful that you find this to be helpful. And you may not agree with my position on things, and that's fine. You know, as I always say, you get to run your business the way you want, but hopefully you find some valuable content in what I share with you that helps you to avoid some of the pitfalls that that I've experienced over the course of time. So I am on the residential side of the industry, okay? I'm not on the commercial side. So some weeks I may mow, 130 yards, for example, total if I cut grass LLC. In most cases, my lawnmowers are run maximum 25, 30 minutes at a time. And there are some isolated cases where it's an hour and 20 minutes. But unlike what often tends to be the case with commercial lawn mowing, where you could be on a mower for 8 or 9 hours nonstop all day mowing, there are properties like that. My mowers don't see that kind of time in the same day. I mean, I could mow, again, 15, 20, 25 houses in a day, and you're looking at 15 minutes on this house, 20 minutes on the next, 30 minutes on the next, so forth and so on. And then they have that break in between the houses, whether I'm driving to another neighborhood or whatever, that they're not being ran. So, I mean, I love mowers that have tachometers, because it's easier to track maintenance and all that kind of stuff and get an idea of where the value of the mower may be as you've had it for a while. But oftentimes, some of the mowers that I get don't have them. So I've always bought high-end residential lawnmowers. For me, I'll give an example. Many years ago, one of the first big mowers that I bought was a Hustler Fast Track. It was a 48. It was a high-end residential mower. This is about 7-8 years ago, actually. Actually, more than that. It was 10 years ago. And with that mower, I had it, for a very long time. And ended up replacing the motor after I got about 2,200 hours on it, so I could keep the mower. And I'll talk about that here in a minute too. But they told me, you need a commercial mower. Well, I spent about $5,000 on that mower. I think after taxes and everything, it might have been $5,600. Okay, but you need to have this commercial mower. Blah blah blah. It was $8,000 or $9,000 for something comparable. That was a zero sit down. I think it was a Toro version at the time, or might have been another upgraded Fast Track. But I said, no, I'll take this one. And guess what? I had it and ran the wheels off of it and made all kinds of freaking money. I didn't need to go and spend, $3,000 or $4,000 more on a lawnmower that the warranty isn't a whole lot different. Okay, sometimes they are, sometimes they're really not. And with as much mowing as we're doing anyway, if you buy a $5,000 mower this year and you're out running it, it's not going to be a $5,000 mower next year. It's just not. They're going to depreciate quickly. And then you get into that situation where the owner thinks that it's worth more than what it really is, because he's able to use it. For me, I do like new things, but to be honest, I get used to things. So when I find the value in something more once it's got some scratches in it and it's been wore a little bit, it's been broken in, because then you can really use it. I mean, I'll take my truck, for example. I've got a 2021 Silverado 2500 HD High Country. It's a beautiful truck. It's got a scratch on the front bumper. Am I going to go spend $1,000 for them to fix the scratch? No. Why? I mean, why? It's a truck. Yes, I like to look at my things, all right? But I want to use them. That's the whole purpose of having them. So I don't think that if you're on the residential side of the industry that you really need to worry about getting commercial lawnmowers. I mean, I wouldn't get the cheapest thing out there, but don't put yourself in a position where you're going to go buy a $9,000, $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 lawnmower and you're cutting some houses, on Friday or Saturday, or even you're cutting houses all week. In my opinion, generally speaking, it's not a wise investment. Hustler now has a model that's a residential model / commercial, and I'll explain that here in a second, that is called the Surfer Pro. It comes in a 34-inch deck and a 48-inch deck. And I just ordered one, and it was about $4,700 before taxes. I'll have it the first week of May. I'll tell you this. They market it as a residential lawnmower. I called the local Hustler guy and insisted, no, you can't do that. And he told me that he knows Hustler and all this stuff, and I believed him. I could hear him what he was saying, but he didn't believe that I had a fast track. I actually have several fast tracks, and that they could do what I've been doing with them. So, I mean, and I'm not suggesting that they're lying to you, but they're, when they're thinking about, commercial mowing, you're getting out and you're mowing fields. But this Surfer Pro, what I saw as they were demoing in many of these trade shows, it's not the type of mower that's really intended for you to go out and mow all day with it every day. It's really designed, it's like a niche mower, okay? You get into a property and you've got that gate in the back that's 36 inches wide. And you just don't want to push mow it, even if you're using a 30-inch push mower, man. I mean, you're going to save a lot of time. You're going to save your knees with a mower like this. I mean, it's got a 15 horsepower motor. You're not going to, go through and cut 3-foot tall grass. I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's just not something that's advisable to be done. But I go back to when I started my lawn mowing business. And I went and I talked to the lawn mowing shop. That's not the name of the business, but I was over in Speedway at the time, living in Indiana. And I talked to them, and they wanted to sell me at the time a $5,000 lawnmower. I didn't have any accounts. I was just getting started. So I talked to them for a little bit, left kind of feeling shot down. I thought, this is ridiculous. I don't need to invest this type of money up ahead of time, and I don't have this money coming in. I'm never going to be able to get into this industry. So one weekend, I had a check. I said, to hell with it. I went up and I went to Lowe's and I found a lawnmower. I think I spent somewhere between $300 and $400 for it. I walked through the neighborhood that I was living at the time. I was actually a full-time salesman that traveled during the week for a company. And so I went through and I looked at houses that need to be mowed or whatever, and I wrote a letter, literally a hand-wrote letter. So I looked at the address, sent it out, and I got 2 or 3 people responding to me, and that's how I got started. And it was with a push mower. And I'll remember, and it was a residential push mower. And I'll remember that for the first 2 weeks, I didn't have a trimmer. So after I mowed the ladies' grass a couple of times, I went and I bought a trimmer. And then a couple of weeks later, I went and I bought a handheld blower. And then about 3 weeks after that, I went and I bought a trailer. And then I had everything that I needed for a setup to go through and just mow some lawns. And that's how I got started. So I'm not saying that the commercial grade mowers are a waste of your money at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're out mowing grass, even if you're mowing 50, 60, 75, 100 lawns a week, you don't necessarily have to have a commercial grade lawnmower. If you can change the oil, if you can do the general maintenance, the fuel filters, the oil filters, sharpen your blades, make sure that the belts are, adjusted as necessary, keep your air pressure where it needs to be. I think I said sharpen the blades, clean the underside of the deck, and you're not running, fuel that has alcohol in it, you're going to be able to get a lot out of that lawnmower, and you're going to be able to see a quicker return and get yourself into that profit mode, that profit area, so you've got the lawnmower paid off versus paying maybe as much as double for something simply because it's commercial and it's going to run and operate and last about the same, maybe a little bit more. That's my opinion on this, guys. Again, if you're out mowing and you're residential and you're 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour and 10 minutes tops on your biggest lawns, I don't see it necessary for you to spend the extra money in the commercial mower. In fact, I've never done it since 2008, and I'm never going to do it. Now, again, I'm on the residential side of the industry. I'm not cutting these properties that take 9, 10, 11, 12 hours or 2 or 3 days to mow. So that's when you really need that commercial equipment. So I hope you find this valuable. This is my opinion on this matter. Okay, you might have a different opinion. Oh, by the way, earlier I said something about changing motors. It costs about $125. At least it did a couple years ago, before all the baloney that's going on with, the economy and everything, and inflation and fuel. It costs about $125 per 1 horsepower on a motor. So, when I would replace a motor, I would look at, 20, 21, 22 horsepower, if it would work on that mower, whatever high horsepower I could get to put on there, because I liked the mower as it was, and it was in good condition and it still worked, and I was broke in and I was used to it, and I knew how to operate what I could get by with. When you get a new mower, you got to break it in. It might jerk a little bit when you turn, and you might not be, the height, the settings might be off a little bit. You don't know what they are. Are they really set at 3 inches, or is it 3 inches and a quarter? And where's my tire pressure? How's that going to influence it? And how far over can I get and actually cut, even though the deck, the edge of the deck is right there? Is the front, is the deck curved, for example, on the sides, or is it square, or is it at an angle? I mean, all that stuff influences how you're going to cut. And I call it mower awareness, so you know what you're doing when you're doing what you're doing. Anyway, subscribe to my channel if you find this valuable, please. I hope you have a great start to the spring. I probably won't be mowing for another 2 weeks. I'm going to get out, not this coming week, but the next week, and start on cleanup. So we do have some mulch coming next weekend, so I'm excited for that. But anyway, I'll be back with some stuff as things come to my mind, and hopefully, I'm able to share them with you, and you're able to benefit. Peace.